Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 47. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined, as always, by Joe Payne. And this episode, as always, is brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com. Anthony Curtis's Las Vegas Advisor is where you go for everything in Las Vegas. You want gambling tips, you want restaurant tips, show tips, anything Vegas, you can find at the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com. Joe, we're not going to do the report card thing that we did after the quarter of the season because it went on for about 6 hours and 97 minutes. But the Golden Knights are at the halfway point of their season, actually one game past it. They are 27-13-2, first in the Western Conference, first in the Pacific Division, obviously. Third overall in the NHL, 1 point behind Carolina and the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're 12-10 at home, 15-3-2 away from the Fortress. Are you surprised? I mean,
when you ask me, am I surprised?
Are you surprised they are where they are at this point of the season?
From my opinion, from the beginning, before they played game one of this season?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Start there.
Absolutely. And not to rehash things, but if you go back and listen to our first podcast before the season started, I thought they might struggle to make the playoffs because the big question that needed to be answered was the goaltending. Robin Leonard was gone for the year. Marc-Andre Fleury is way long gone. And they had an unproven kid in Logan Thompson. And they had Broussard, who went shoulder surgery. And
hip surgery.
Was it hip? Okay.
Hip surgery.
And Robin was the shoulder surgery, correct?
No, Robin had 2 hip surgeries.
Oh, see, how about me being up to speed on that? But okay, but I know that 2 of their goaltenders were injured, and they picked up Aiden Hill, who hasn't really impressed too many people. But then again, he played on some really weak teams as far as San Jose and Arizona. And I got a little egg on my face because Logan Thompson proved that, what he did in the 15 to 16 games he played to close out the season wasn't something that was a lock or something. In other words, he's a good guy. He's a good guy, good goaltender.
It wasn't a fluke.
It wasn't a fluke.
That wasn't a fluke. We'll put it.
It wasn't a fluke. Now, did he start off and he'll start off gangbusters this season? And they got off to a great start. Yeah. And have they come back a little bit to the pack? Yeah. But he did get named to the All Star team,
which we'll get to much later in the episode.
But I'm just saying, why was I surprised as to where they are now, as to where I thought they would be at the beginning of the season? And it all stems on the goaltending.
Okay, but what else has gone right?
Riley Smith.
Okay.
Paul Cotter.
Okay.
A healthy Mark Stone, and Jack Eichel. If he can just stay healthy, it's just incredible. I mean, he was out for a while and was still one of the top scorers on the team. So they're firing on all cylinders. I think I've said this, and you have also said this. This might be the best Vegas Golden Knight team ever assembled in the first 6 years. The talent on this team is incredible. The point is, we do know how difficult it is to stay healthy and to get lucky in the playoffs. No matter how good you are, doesn't mean that you're going to win the cup. I mean, because right now, everybody says Boston's a runaway for the cup. Yeah, I mean, they got a tremendous record. They're 19-0. They haven't lost a game at the TD Gardens yet.
In regulation.
In regulation, they're 19-0-3. They're sitting on top of the league. They demolished Anaheim the other night. I understand you rolling your eyes, but
listen, who won the President's Cup last year?
Avalanche.
Really? Are you sure?
That was the year before when.
How about Florida?
Yeah, and they were out in the first round. I understand.
So let's say that the President's Trophy, which unless there is a fairly titanic meltdown, is probably going to end up in Boston, is certainly no guarantee of a cup. Because Colorado, when they won the President's Cup, didn't win the Stanley Cup. And when they didn't win the President's Cup, they did win the Stanley Cup. So let's use that as a cautionary tale. I'm going to agree with you that everything that you said went right, but there's two things that you skipped over. The first major difference is behind the bench. Bruce Cassidy has them playing in a way that's much more conducive to long-term success. It didn't, there are bumps. They still have second period issues. There are still some breakout issues, and puck management is a term that we'll probably use ad nauseum the rest of the year. But I think that I don't want to say that he's a significant upgrade from Pete DeBoer. His style is much different and his systems are much different, and they look to be much more conducive to long-term success. And the second thing is the success on the power play. We beat that dog.
The bar was low, Eddie.
Right, but the bar was low, but look where they are. And look at the goals that they scored. And yes, they're not at 35% or 40% or something like that. But as we watch them objectively, not through the eyes of through the lens of fans, you can see what that power play is capable of doing. And if they get on a real heater, that's going to be a standing changes part of their game. And I think that in addition to obviously Riley Smith scoring like he's Alex Ovechkin, and the breakout of Paul Cotter and Daniil Miromanov, and the fact that the kids that they brought up after they've been much maligned for not developing any talent and all of this other hoi polloi, all of the kids who have come up from Henderson have looked like they belong. Braden Pahal, sorry, Braden, I called you Zach last episode, but Braden Pahal, Daniil Miromanov, Dorofeyev, none of them looked like they were out of place, which is a testament to what they're being taught in Henderson. So even when they were fairly decimated with injuries, Eichel, Cotter, Martinez, Theodore, Miromanov, Dorofeyev, White Cloud, etc., they were still sort of holding their own. And now, as they sort of creep back closer to healthiness, the rumor has it that we'll get Shea Theodore and Daniil Miromanov back for Thursday's game against the Florida Panthers. That leaves pretty much Zach Whitecloud as the only regular who we suspect might be out for a long time. So they went through quite a bit of adversity health-wise. And if you go way back to the beginning of the season, while they were on this miraculous sort of start, Bruce Cassidy said he would prefer if they had a little bit of adversity earlier rather than later. So they've gone through not nearly as much, obviously, as last year, because it literally it strung out the entire season. But they've gone through a little bit of adversity, and they've come out the other side. They survived 11 games without Eichel, right? They've lost basically 3 of their top 6 defensemen for decent segments of the season. Yet, as we started out with 27-13-2 and leading the Western Conference. So all the things, if you put all those things into the pot, you have an awfully good Golden Knights team. And, I sure wish that we could ask somebody like Kelly McCrimmon or George McPhee if they think that this is the best Golden Knights lineup. But I'm pretty sure that I think it is.
I actually believe George McPhee has already said that publicly. He thought that this team this year was the best team he's assembled since 2017. And I think he's correct. But when you made a point about you think one of the big differences in the team is Cassidy behind the bench. And I'm not going to disagree with you here. But my question to you is that did DeBoer lose the room? Did the players stop listening to DeBoer and a new voice like Cassidy? Was this an awakening to them, or you think it's a complete overhaul of the system that's made the difference?
I don't think that Pete DeBoer probably lost the room. I think there wasn't really much of a room for him to lose. One of the greatest lines ever uttered on short film was, "I'm a victim of circumstances," and that was by Curly of the Three Stooges. And Pete DeBoer is an awfully good coach. And if you don't believe me, just look at Dallas in the standings right now. But last year, literally every single thing that could go wrong did go wrong. I mean, I think he's a good coach. I think that the messaging is just significantly different. And I think that he was dealt a hand that was not playable toward, regarding last season. I do think that there is a good part of new messaging, new systems, new voice that goes into that. But I'm not going to throw Pete DeBoer under the bus, because I don't think any coach in the history of hockey, including Scotty Bowman, could have handled what the Golden Knights were dealt last year, as far as the injury bug and all the other things that were around them all year.
Yeah, that's a valid point, Eddie. But the knot that I have on DeBoer from last year specifically is his inability to make adjustments on the power play. I think his friendship with Steve Spott kind of influenced him. I don't think he wanted to throw Steve Spott under the bus. And by doing so, the power play continued to flounder throughout the whole season. There was very little adjustments made to try to do something to show a new look. Everyone knew what the Vegas Golden Knights were going to do on the power play, and they knew about their difficulty of getting into the zone with the puck. So, is DeBoer a good coach? He's a good coach, but I think his fault is his loyalty probably cost him his job, because he didn't make the adjustments, or at least attempt to make adjustments on the power play, because of his friendship and loyalty to Steve Spott.
I agree with you 100%. The only difference is I wouldn't say it was his inability to make changes. It was his conscious decision not to make those changes.
But why would a coach of his caliber not see that the power play needs something? Why would he not make that adjustment?
You want to ask him? Dallas is coming to town in about a week.
You think we're going to answer to that?
Fuck no. Are you kidding me?
Not just no. Fuck no.
I mean, yeah, I mean, no, I don't know the answer to that question. And it's a fascinating question, because he certainly has the tools in the toolkit to make the changes.
I mean, we're not the smartest guys in the press box.
No, but
we saw what was going on last year.
Yes.
Nobody going to the front of the net. The failure to get the puck into the zone on a consistent basis. The failure to get somebody in front of the net. The failure to utilize the bumper guy properly. I mean, not the last game, the game before, there was the power play goal scored by Stevenson, where the puck went from Eichel to Stone to Stevenson in a matter of less than a second and a half.
Yeah.
It was bang, bang, bang. It was doot, 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 boom, goal. And that's I mean, when you can move the puck that quickly from high to low to back to the front of the net, Patrick Roy is not going to stop that shot. And that's
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I'm not as surprised as you are about where they are. That hot start was
the hot start did help, though.
The hot start was incredibly invigorating, not only for the fan base, but probably for their own for the room's psyche, right? Because they were coming back with a chip on their shoulder. We sort of discussed that before. They were kind of embarrassed about not making the playoffs last year. But with that, though they would never admit it, I suspect comes a little bit of fragility of ego. I think that maybe they were questioning themselves a little bit. And the fact that they came out of the gate gangbusters, I mean, absolutely gangbusters, I think did a world of good for between all of the players' ears in that room. They were like, hey, wait a second. We are the Golden Knights. This is the expectation of the quality of play that we have. And, we can do this. And I think that start buoyed them through sort of this lull that they've had, where they lost some games at home, which was sort of atypical for them over the course of the first 5 seasons. And I think that I think that the team is in a significantly better place mentally because of the start and because they are playing the way they are. And as I sort of merge that into a topic, I think that the way that they have played and the quality of the play that they have exhibited through the first 42, 43 games will allow them to flush that turd that they left at the at T-Mobile on Saturday night against the Kings. I don't think there's going to be any long lasting. I don't think there's going to be any sort of. I think that was an aberration. Bruce said that was the most disappointing game since he's been here. I don't think you and I or anybody else that watched the game would disagree with that. But I think that last year, a stinker like that may have had some lingering effects. Now they've had 2 days off. They got a huge pump of the tires at Fan Fest on Sunday afternoon on Fremont Street. They're back to practice, and I expect a significantly better effort Thursday night against Florida.
Florida is having their problems also. So
Florida is definitely struggling with Paul Maurice's systems, and they're not getting. I mean, Kachuk's been great, but
he's the leading scorer.
But they certainly missed the chemistry that they had last year. So let's talk about something that I think probably surprised both of us. And we're not going to take a negative light on it, but I do want to ask you a question about it. Logan Thompson is an NHL All Star as a rookie. And my question to you is, how much of that is deserved and how much did he benefit because of the lack of a standout goaltender anywhere else in the Pacific Division?
I think it's deserved, but I also think, as you said, the goaltending out in the Pacific Division, and actually in the Western Conference, hasn't been lights up, other than maybe Connor Hellebuck. Other than that, I mean, Logan has played well. He's consistent. There's not too many rookies that get named to an All-Star team in their first year, basically their first year. I mean, he did play a number of games last year, but he still has a rookie status. I think Sean, and he's even credited, I think Sean Burke has helped him immensely. And this is not a knock on Mike Rosati, who was the goaltending coach last year. But Sean Burke is a proven elite NHL goaltender. And I think that's helped Logan in getting into the right headspace. I mean, there was a point, it might have been like 2 weeks ago, where Logan said something about where he's hearing voices, so to speak, from social media. And he wanted to end his social media presence because he was listening when he liked to hear it when it was good, but he didn't like to hear it when it was bad. And you know what? If you're going to go on social media and listen to what's being said, you got to take the good with the bad. And there's a lot of trolls there. Like he said last year, Goldie coaches living in their mom's basement. Well, the Goldie coaches.
What a fantastic quote that was. Yeah.
The Goldie coaches living in their mom's basement have resurfaced for Logan Thompson a couple games back, where, you know, he wasn't performing at his best. And then again, the Vegas Golden Knights weren't scoring any goals either at the same time. As of late, that's been corrected, other than the LA game. You know, they put up a couple of 5 spots at home, which, because they had it's still not a great record at home. I think they're 12-10 at home.
Correct.
And for a while there, they were tinkering at 500 at home, where T-Mobile used to be a place that teams dreaded coming into. The crowd is loud, it's on top of you. But now it seems like the visiting teams are feeding off of that energy. And the Vegas Golden Knights, and I've said this before, and you also agree, the Vegas Golden Knights are trying to make too cute of a play most of the times, maybe to impress the crowd at T-Mobile.
Yep.
You know, instead of just playing ABC hockey, they're trying to make that cute one extra pass, or not taking a shot when they have it to try to make a nice cross-ice pass. Just get the puck on the net, you know?
I think it's become sort of a game ritual that twice a night I yell, "Shoot the fucking puck" from the press box. I mean, they had a 2-on-0 against LA, and a 3-on-0 almost against LA, and they didn't even get a shot on net.
Right.
To his credit, Butch brought that up in the press conference. Early in the game, we got 2 unbelievable looks and we didn't. We had a 3-on-0 and we didn't even get a shot on net. So, I mean, he's aware. I don't know what it's going to take to get Coach Littlejohn back in the shots, right? But I think you're absolutely right. They still want the ESPN top 10 goal every time they play at the Fortress, and they've gotten some, that power play goal that we mentioned before, and there's been some really nice, pretty goals that have happened at T-Mobile. But I still, like you said, I wish they would just shoot the puck more, put more pucks on the net, go get the pucks more, and play an easier, simpler game. They're more talented up and down the lineup than 32 teams. So 10% be 3, then 80% of the league. There's 6 teams that are probably the same talent level as they are, right?
Okay, fair enough.
So they're more talented than 26 of the 25 or 26 of the 32 teams. If they would just play to their strengths, that should sort of carry the day.
So if I were to say to you, Eddie, what's the reason that they're 15-3-2 on the road and 12-2 at T-Mobile?
I would say there's absolutely no distractions on the road. I think that they spend time probably going to dinners together and playing cards, and they can do nothing but focus on hockey and doing what they're being taught to do and what they're being shown how to do in video every day. Even if they don't practice on the ice, they have lots of video sessions where things are put into them repetitively. That seems to be something that Coach Cassidy strives to be maybe the best at. So, they don't sleep in their own beds. They don't get approached by fans if they go to the supermarket or they take their kids to youth sports or things like that. They show up. It's a business trip. They stay in a nice hotel. They skate. They nap. They eat their pregame meal. They go to the rink and they play hockey. And that's all there really is to do. So it's not like the days, of Derek Sanderson when he played for the Bruins and Joe Namath when he played for the Jets and the Party Boys, those days, they don't do that anymore. They're getting paid boatloads of money. The minimum salary in the NHL is like $750,000, right? These young men and grown-ass men take these things ultra seriously.
Yeah, and I think they used to come to camp to get into shape.
Yeah, no. If you do that, you don't make the team.
You don't make the team now.
No.
You work out in the summer to be in shape when you show up for camp.
No, because you have no time. It's like, when I was younger, right? That's when Jurassic Park was around. Is that correct?
Yeah,
and the skates were made out of leather, and the goalie pads had horsehair in them. And yes. But the first 2 weeks of hockey season was all getting into shape. You literally just basically skated, right, and ran and got your legs under you. Now, the first day of training camp, they're into full-on drills and full strategy.
Speed, right.
So, the responsibility, the acceptance of that responsibility is a little different in this era than perhaps when I was younger, a couple of generations ago. And I don't see there being any reason that they can't continue to be a dominant team on the road, especially if they get healthy. I mean, take a look, even though they dropped a real serious deuce against LA a couple of nights ago. Look at the Pittsburgh game. Look at the Nashville game. Look at the Colorado game. The thing that we've been lamenting about this whole season, third line. What the hell is going to happen with the third line? What are they going to do with Phil Kessel?
Hook him up with Paul Cotter. It seemed to work.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, wait a second. The kid who brings the energy and is willing to get dirty and willing to go to the net is on the line with somebody he sort of idolized as a kid and does nothing but gush about him when we get a chance to chat with him about it, about playing with Phil Kessel. I mean, I don't know that Michael Amadio is going to last much longer on the first line, but he's certainly been a breath of fresh air, and I think that if this third line sort of stays with Kessel, Cotter, Carlson for a while, this team's going to be really difficult to play against because we've seen that Cotter can finish. We know that Kessel, even though he hasn't showed it a great deal, he's got 7 goals and 9 or 10 assists, something like that. We know that he can shoot the puck and we know that he can score goals. And we know how defensively responsible William Karlsson is. That's a fairly tough line to play against, don't you think?
Yeah. And going back to Kessel and talking about, since we're at the halfway mark, would it be fair to say that Kessel is maybe the biggest disappointment of the first half of the season so far?
You get 16 points out of a guy making $1.5 million.
That's not my question. I'm asking you, are you disappointed in Kessel's production so far through 42 games?
I'm surprised that he hasn't had more of an effect than he's had. I think that part of that is that he has spent most of his time playing with not full-time experienced seasoned NHL players. I think when they put him up on the first line, they put him on his off wing, and that experiment didn't last long. But the dynamics of playing your off wing as opposed to your strong side are significantly different. And the biggest difference is how you take the puck off the rim around, right? You either take it on your forehand or your backhand. And to expect a guy who's played one wing 95% of his career to seamlessly go to his weak side, it wasn't a good fit. And to his credit, Butch Cassidy didn't leave it, to simmer. He said, all right, this isn't working. We'll go a different direction. I don't want to use the word disappointment, because if you get 30 some points from your third line winger for $1.5 million, you have to say that you got some pretty decent value in it. Don't you think? I mean, yes, he's not at 15 goals looking for 30, but you tell me how many third line wingers in the NHL are tracking to score 30 goals this year?
Well, here's my question, and it's just going back to something you said. You don't know how long the Amadio experiment on the top line is going to work or last. Why would Cassidy move that now? It's working. And if you take Amadio off the top line, who do you put up there?
Well, I'm not going to, I'll let Coach Cassidy answer that when Chris Chapman of Fox Sports said, hey, Coach, 10 minutes in, you swapped Cotter and Amadio, first and third lines. What was your thinking behind that? And Coach Cassidy said, Amadio was light a couple of times, and I thought I felt like we needed to get more pressure.
And I understand that, but by moving Cotter away from Kessel, you kind of depleted the little bit of chemistry that the third line had in 2 of the last 3 games. I mean, there was no chemistry at all again on their last game against LA, none, 0. But with the 2 games prior to that, I thought it was Kessel's best 2 games as a Vegas Golden Knight.
But how much of that is William Karlsson?
Well, and Paul Cotter combined.
Okay. Coach Cassidy says he likes to think in pairs. Remember him talking about that?
I do.
Right? Stone and Stevie, right? As a pair. The answer to your question is, I see there, and a lot of this depends on what happens with Brett Howden, who apparently is skating, but not yet even in a contact jersey. So he's probably a couple of weeks out. But I think that you want net front presence. And I think that Cotter is more likely and happier to go to the dirtier areas than Amadio. So I think the answer to your question is it goes back to being Stevenson, Stone, and Cotter. And then I don't know. We'd have to ask the smarter people in the press box. Maybe it's Amadio, Carlson, Kessel. And then when Howden comes back, I got nothing for you. But, even when they moved Nick Waugh up to the first line, they got some juice out of that too.
Oh, so playing two centers is always good.
Yeah. So,
especially late in the game in a 1-goal game.
So we know strategically that that's what they like to do. And it seems like they have some options. It's certainly more important that the first and second line keep scoring. And they'll figure it out for the third line. Like I said, it's not that I don't think Amadio has been a wonderfully refreshing, thing for them, because he has. I mean, I don't think anybody saw a 7-game point streak coming out of Michael Amadio. But when you play with good players, good things happen, right? Cotter scored a bunch when he was up there. Waugh got 2 goals, right? All good things happen when you play with good players. And Stone and Stevie together have, that gel that there's no reason to break them up. Now, wouldn't it be something if the reconstituted version of line 1A, Eichel, Riley Smith, and Marchie found some jam in their game? What do you think of that?
I don't know. I like Eichel playing away from Stone. I like the balance it gives. Okay. When you present opposing teams those 6 forwards as your top 2 lines, they have a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
There's only one checking line per team, so you're either going to send them out against Stone and Stevenson, or you're going to send them out against Eichel. And 6 to 1,
it's a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. So I believe Detroit had that problem, and Edmonton had that problem with Draisaitl and McDavid. They eventually split them up because they realized if I split them up, I add more balance to the team. And I think Detroit had that problem when they had a lot of top guns that they were playing together. This better than me because you're a diehard Detroit fan. They learned to break them up,
spread the wealth a little bit,
spread the wealth, so to speak. And I think Cassidy sees that and has done that, and the team has benefited from kind of presenting 2 solid lines and a fairly decent fourth line. And the third line has been if there's been one albatross this season so far, it's not been in the nets which I thought would be. It's been the third line. It's been the 7th, 8th, and 9th forward.
That's okay. So let me zip back to your question. Is Phil Kessel the biggest disappointment? The answer is no. The biggest disappointment is the third line, or lack thereof.
Okay.
In its entirety.
The third line that basically consisted of 2 AHL guys and Phil.
The third line that consisted of whatever the hell they put out as the third line, none of it's worked.
Okay. Well,
in the 15 different machinations that it appeared with the AHL kids or whatever it is, the thing that's mooring them to the bottom has been the play of the third line. Carrier's already got a career high in goals.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Carrier's playing great. So, right? Okay. So going off that, we want to stay positive now.
Yes.
What's your biggest surprise of this season?
Biggest surprise.
Something that you would say that you said.
2. I'll give you 2.
Okay.
Riley Smith scoring touch.
Okay.
And as somebody who's struggled with back pain most of their adult life, that Mark Stone has played every single game, and every single time we've asked how he's doing, he said he feels great. That he is absolutely 100% back to being Mark Stone. And that's not a knock on Mark Stone. Pardon me. I'm speaking specifically about
playing with pain,
coming back from back surgery. So I would say not that I doubted his ability to do it, but the fact that he's come back and he's been as good as or better than he's ever been after having back surgery, and I think is a huge surprise.
And he's focused. You and I asked him a specific question, just the 3 of us. why he's not playing golf. And he basically said, because I want to be a hockey player.
I want to play 82 games.
I want to play 82 games and I don't
Yeah.
want golf to get in the way. So I give him credit for doing that. I mean, because a lot of these guys,
that's their escape.
They like their escape. Exactly. Their off time. He's very dedicated. He's a perfect guy. Even though there's people yelling, he shouldn't be the captain.
Shut up.
Exactly.
Idiot.
Just
shut
the
up.
F up.
Right. F means
Close
fuck,
the front door.
Yeah. No. So I'm really happy to see that he's playing without the fact that he had back surgery in the back of his head.
Right.
Right. Which a lot of players, when they come back from an injury, it's not quite out of their system and they may not go that extra stride into the corner, or they may avoid that hit a little bit or something like that. Mark Stone seems to be playing as good as or better than he's played since he's become a Golden Knight.
And he's taken some pretty big shots from opposing players too.
He's taken some pretty big shots, and he's, not that he would be whining and saying he doesn't feel great, but we see it. If he wasn't feeling good, it's very noticeable in his game if he's not 100%. And I think overall, from a very personal place, and you've seen me hobbling around and needing a cane on occasion, the fact that he's all the way back, he had the surgery. I couldn't imagine how hard he worked out in the summer to get healthy and to get to the point where he can play with no, with no downside at all from the back surgery. And Riley Smith has been just a breath of fresh air. I mean, I don't know if he'll get 30, right?
He's on a pace to get 30.
But he's tracking that way, and he's still probably the most dependable two-way forward they have on the team, and I think that for $5 million, I think it's an awfully good contract.
So it's not the worst contract on the team, even though somebody did write that.
No, it is not. It is not not at all the worst contract.
We should try to get the author of that article on and really put his feet to the fire.
I wonder if that was Dr. Frank Cervelli who said that, Robin Leonard's friend.
Yeah, Dr. Frank knows all.
Dr. Frank Cervelli. So I want to talk about Ageless Forever. I'm going to do my very best not to make Joe turn red and blush like we did on the last episode. Okay. www.agelessforever.net is my friend John Pierce's medical practice. Specializes in men's health, women's health, and all of the things that you need to do to make yourself better. Hormone replacement therapy, testosterone replacement therapy, platelet-rich plasma replacement therapy, anything that has to do with the inner workings and the chemistry set inside your body. Dr. Pierce is a guy who specializes in that, who you go to and you sit down and you have a free consultation because you're friends with the guys from Hockey Nights in Vegas. And if you sign up, you do a whole bunch of blood work, and your first visit with Dr. Pierce is going to be eye-opening. And they take a lot of blood and they run a lot of tests. But when they get the results, Dr. Pierce knows exactly where you are on your inner workings and exactly what it takes to start to get you to be better about yourself. My results personally, I was vitamin deficient in a number of areas. My testosterone was low, and there were a couple other things that needed to be addressed. And it was no injections, simply a different course of better than buy at the grocery store vitamins, a testosterone cream to help improve that area. And it's just it's maintenance. It's guys and gals, take care of yourselves. You owe it to yourselves. You owe it to your partners. If you have kids, you owe it to them to try to be the best you can be. And this is not like going to your GP and saying something aches. This is going to a specialized doctor who specializes in what makes the human body be the most efficient and run the best that it can possibly be. And if you go see my friend Dr. Pierce at Ageless Forever, www.agelessforever.net, it will be the best investment that you can make in yourself. And I encourage all of you to do exactly that. I did it. I've been on the program for 2 or 3 months. I will tell you that my weight loss, though you can't tell because I always wear sweats and heavy clothes and stuff like that, has just passed the 20-pound mark since I started on a regimen of medication and vitamins and some exercise and not eating like a monster. And everything that he's done for me, I myself can tell you that I feel better, and that I had my doubts going in because it's not traditional medicine. It's not like your GP, but I committed to doing it, not just for the laughs that we get on the podcast when I make ball sack jokes, but I committed it because I'm getting older and I wasn't feeling great, and I'm feeling a lot better. And I absolutely realize that this is the right thing for me to be the best me, and that you owe it to yourself, like I said before, and you owe it to your wife or your husband and your kids and your grandkids and everyone else. Take a little time, spend a little dough on yourself to make yourself better. And the way to do that is by going to see my friend Dr. Pierce at www.agelessforever.net. Make sure that you tell him that you're a friend of the guys from Hockey Nights in Vegas, and your first consultation is absolutely free. Back into hockey stuff now. The Golden Knights have 5 games left on the homestand. They are 1-1 after beating the Penguins and laying one in the bowl against the Kings. Upcoming are the Florida Panthers, the Edmonton Oilers, Pete DeBoer's return with the Dallas Stars, the Detroit Red Wings, and the suddenly resurgent Washington Capitals, now that they've got a couple of bodies back. In the beginning, I would have said 5 is probably a great number, 10 out of 14 points. But there's some tough games.
There's a couple of roadblocks here.
Yeah, there's a couple of stumbling blocks. What do you think? They got 5 games left. Is 3 reasonable?
Oh, I think 3 is probably the best that they're going to do. I think they're going to have difficult against Dallas and Washington. Is probably the 2 stumbling blocks there. I think they should beat Florida. They should beat Edmonton. And unfortunately for you, they probably should beat Detroit. So they'll win 4 of the 7, as opposed to, I believe we both agreed that
we
5
thought
out
5
of 7,
was the number. Yeah, we thought 5 was the number.
Would have been a decent homestand. But considering that they're, 15-3-2 on the road, that kind of gives them a little leeway as far as their home record. So, but if they can start winning at T-Mobile, they will be a hot outcome April and May.
I think certainly the game I'm most interested in seeing is the Dallas game.
Yes,
because Dallas is playing really well, and their top line with that Robertson kid is he's the real deal. So
here's a question I have for you: does DeBoer get a welcome back video? And if he does,
yes and yes.
What is the reaction?
He's absolutely getting booed.
And what is the reaction at
booed?
T-Mobile? He gets booed.
Booed.
Loudly.
1,000%. I'll bet you anything you want.
Really?
Anything
you don't think they'll be polite and there'll be a smattering of applause?
The savages that we have in this crowd that say trademark Stone because he sucks? No.
Okay. So DeBoer gets a video.
DeBoer
he gets loud, and he gets the Bronx cheer.
Soundly booed.
Okay.
He replaced the golden guy. He replaced Gerard Gallant. Right?
Okay.
So he was evil from the second. He was in a no-win situation unless he won the cup. Right?
I shouldn't say he didn't even come close. He probably should have played for the cup against Montreal, but we know that. We know what happened there.
So he was the evil empire the second he arrived in town. And as we discussed briefly before, his indecision or his lack of a decision to change things, which probably led to his exit and caused a bunch of vitriol amongst the fan base. I think they owe him a video. I really do. But I think that the savages in the crowd are going to be
thirsty for blood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say that that's going to be a very raucous night in the Fortress.
Okay.
the crowd's going to be there and they're going to be looking for scalps. And listen, Dallas is a really good team. They're only a point behind the Golden Knights in the standings. They're leading the Central, albeit Colorado's not healthy yet. But hey, you can't deny what he's done with them. And, you know, I'm always excited to watch Connor McDavid play hockey just because I appreciate him for his 60 goals and out in the second round of the playoffs every year. I think that's wonderful. I'm always happy to see my Red Wings come to town. And listen, we are going to see in the last game of this road trip, maybe the guy who becomes the all-time leading goal scorer in the history, 105 or 8-year history of the NHL. We're going to see Alex Ovechkin. So there's some juice in the rest of this home stand. And I suspect that Coach Cassidy is going to have them ready to go. I expect them to put forth superb efforts in all 5 of these games. I don't see another stinker in those 5. I don't think they're going to go 5-0. But I think that we're going to get wildly entertaining games because a lot of these teams like to play offense. And I'm okay with it. I'm excited about spending the next, what do we have, 10, 12 days, 5 of them at the Fortress. And then, Joe, you and I are heading out to the East Coast the end of January to visit with the New Jersey Devils, the Rangers, your Rangers, and the Islanders. So we're going to do a little road work and taking the Golden Knights on the road.
And slipping in a visit to Peter Luger's.
Yes. So for our vegan friends, we're going to include pictures of our steaks from Peter Luger because, well, we just have to. Speaking of food and stuff like that, and we'll sort of wrap this up, folks. We had a pizza party at my house.
We did.
What the hell are we talking about? Joe and I hosted our friend Chris Chapman from Fox Sports and our friend Lindsey Brown from Lotus Broadcasting over to my humble abode, and we ordered in pizza, and we watched the Colorado Avalanche game a couple of Monday nights ago.
Pizza and garlic knots.
Pizza and garlic knots. And I think what we should do, Joe, is we need subscribers. There are certain perks that you get as a YouTube content provider, the more subscribers you get. So we have, I don't know how many, but we need like 25, I think, to get to 200. So here's the deal. If you are the 200th subscriber, and we will know because we get subscribers literally in the order that they come in as you hit that subscribe button that you'll see on the bottom. So please subscribe. And if you are the 200th subscriber, we are going to give you a prize. We're going to give you a choice of 2 prizes. You can come to my house and have a pizza party with Joe and I and probably another guest from the media and watch a Golden Knights away game. Or you can have a pregame dinner with Joe and I at our favorite Italian restaurant in town, Romadelli Restaurant on West Spring Mountain Road. So
I'm hoping the winner picks the Romadelli.
You what?
I'm hoping the winner of the contest picks Romadelli.
So you didn't appreciate the pizza party?
I did, but if you give me a choice of pizza at your house, and Sinatra was a very bad host, never appeared out of the bedroom.
He did not. Sinatra did not make an appearance. No, so, he didn't.
And you know me, I don't need any excuses to go to Romadelli, but if this is taking one of our listeners to Romadelli, I'm up for that.
So that's the challenge, folks. There's a subscribe button somewhere on your screen. It pops up frequently during the broadcast here. 25 to go. The 25th new subscriber, number 200, gets their choice of a pizza party at my place in my bougie country club neighborhood, or a pregame dinner before a Golden Knights home game at our favorite Romadelli restaurant. I do want to wish everybody a happy new year. This is our first time going into 2023. And thank everybody for their likes and their watches and their sharing and things like that. Joe and I really appreciate it. We're going to keep pumping out content and keep trying to make each other laugh and give you the inside scoop on everything Golden Knights. So thank you all very much. We'll see you again in about a week. And don't forget, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button because we want to give away some free food. Joe, you got anything to close?
Happy New Year.
All right, that's it, folks. Episode 47's in the books. We're out.